Hello, everyone. Welcome to another season of Freshly Pressed. We're actually kicking off the new season with John Kratky again with us with the new issue of Home Free. We also how are you going, John?
I'm great. I'm great. Everything's going well. The Kickstarter for issue 4 is going really well. It's probably our best campaign yet. So me and Michelle are very excited about that. So yeah, everything's great.
Yeah, the campaign run as well as the campaign itself looks pretty fantastic. I think you've like taken it up a notch this time. Even with regards to the rewards and everything. Yeah, let's actually start by talking a bit about the campaign and the rewards, and then we'll get into the whole story arc of Home Free. So yeah,
Sure, definitely. You want to start with the campaign? But
yeah, let's do
yeah,
that. Let's do that.
all right, cool. Yeah, so this is the fourth issue. I guess we can start with what's on the screen right here. This every campaign we do funding goal rewards. So we always start like 25%, 50, and 75% funded. We always uh, give away a different thing. So we've already unlocked up to the 75%. We just have to get 100%, and everybody who backs the campaign gets thanked in the book on the back page or on the inside back page. So we got like some cool stuff this time. Holographic logo sticker. We have a bookmark with our not new character. She makes a small appearance in issue 2, but she's now become more of a main character in this issue with Tessa Brown. And then Michelle always puts out these great noir style postcards where it's kind of like, we do these because this series is basically like a road trip. So every stop we go to, there's a new postcard, and it's like advertising wherever we are in the story, but with a like dark twist to it.
Yeah,
Like we're
yeah,
in San Diego in this issue. There's like an urban warfare situation. So in the letters of San Diego, it's could be hard to see on this screen, but you can see all the craziness going on inside the letters rather than some fun scenery or people on the beach
yeah,
or something.
yeah,
Um, so
yeah.
that
That's amazing.
yeah, no, he does these awesome postcards every time. It's one of my favorite parts of the campaign, to be honest. I'm kind of sad that there's just gonna be one more with the next campaign because the fifth issue of Home Free is the last one. So
Okay. I was about to ask. So when does the story arc end? Is it how many issues? Yeah, that's good.
yeah, yeah. Fifth issue, we're hoping to get that just completed in February of next year. So it's coming up. It's kind of sad, but that just means that it opens us up to new things.
Yeah, that's very true. Michelle's art is stunning. Like it's just really good. Like what I've seen in a lot of even big artists
Hmm.
reading like really mainstream comics as well. A lot of times I don't get the emotion and the right expressions on the character's face. But with Michelle's, the characters are so expressive and the faces are so expressive. You can actually just make out the emotion right, like looking at the panels. It's so good.
Right, right. That's why she's so perfect for this genre. Like obviously all genres have hilarious characters and all that, but noir, uh, is a very expressive genre. It's a very, can be very like very dramatic at times, and like you can overdo that kind of thing, especially with the expression on characters. But he always just grabs just that right amount of expression where it's not like overboard. It's not, you understand what's going on. You can't look at a character's face and not know what's going on. He just like perfectly lays it out with her art, and it's awesome. And she does it in black and white, and that might even help more, because it's almost like I don't know. There's just like I think you have to be more careful with the way you draw your characters, maybe, when it's just
Yeah.
black and white, But yeah, she's so perfect at it. Really express it, getting those expressions right.
Yeah, I feel black and white actually does suit noir a fair bit. Even in movies, if you
Mhm.
see, like a lot of noir movies do use black and white
Oh yeah.
to their advantage. I think it's just an atmospheric thing that it adds another layer to the atmosphere of the whole proceedings, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's cool when newer movies like release a black and white version. Like you've seen that a couple of times with the last Mad Max movie they did. You have to watch the I think it's called Silver and Chrome edition. It
Mm,
makes the movie feel so different, and it's just like amazing to watch. I got to see it on the big screen like that, and it blew me away. And then Guillermo del Toro also his Nightmare Alley, which was based on an old crime novel and a remake of an old noir film. He put that out in black and white too. And it was just like, oh man, like I just wish more directors would do that these days. It's like black and white can still be used in the right way and
yeah.
not as like a gimmick or anything. It just you can make a black and white film. I just wish they would still do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's quite ironical that in both these movies that you mentioned, the colors are decidedly like really garish and they're really in your face, like
Mm-hmm.
especially in the colored versions. But in black and white, they make it work so differently. That's
Oh,
really fascinating. Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Another movie I love in black and white, and I know that it's a bit of a gimmick in that movie, is Sin City. I know Frank Miller just goes out with his like his color grading, just doing this blood splatters in red and everything else in black and white. But
mhm.
it is so beautifully done that the color grading in that movie is just fantastic.
Oh yeah, I watched that recently within the last year for the first time in a long time. And I was really into it, man. I thought Robert Rodriguez did really well with that, and it's not. I don't know if it's gimmicky because the style of the whole style of Sin City is just over the top. From the dialogue and to like the types of characters involved in it. It takes like all those noir tropes and puts dials them up to like 11. And it, like so it doesn't really to me. It's just it perfectly expresses that movie because um just the way it all comes together and just the over the topness of it, it just works so well. They
Yeah,
did a great job on that one.
yeah, yeah. Another indie film that you just reminded me of is I don't know if you know this movie. It's called A Girl Walks Alone Home at Night.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
it's
also great. Yeah, man, more black and white. Come on,
more black and
we're
white.
coming up with
It's
these great
fantastic.
examples right here. And like, yeah, girl walks alone is like, is there a little bit of color in that right here and there?
It is. Yeah, yeah. It has.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And from the same director, her name is Anna Lily Amirpour. She made a
Mhm.
movie called Mona Lisa and Blood Moon.
Okay.
Um, this was like a couple of years ago, and for some reason, when I was reading Home Free, it did remind me of that because it is a road trip movie about the story is slightly different, of course. The
Hmm.
story is completely different, but it is a road trip about two women. One of them is actually a prostitute,
Okay.
and she meets a superpowered girl who is in a psychiatric facility, and she escapes the facility. Um, and they both go on a road trip trying to escape the police,
Wow.
and there's obviously thugs behind them trying to capture the superpowered girl, and things like that. So it's a bit of like a fish out of water story of this girl who's really innocent. She's in like a mental facility because of her psychic powers, and then she's with a prostitute who is street smart and who helps her navigate the world. So yeah, and Craig Robinson is the police guy and who's following them, and he's fantastic in that movie. So
Okay.
like, it just reminded me a bit of that, just because obviously it's about two women on the road trying to
All right.
trying to run from their past, and that kind
I
of
think
story. But yeah,
it's kind of a genre in itself at this point. Like, I mean, there's definitely other examples. I mean, Thelma and Louise, right? Someone brought that up to me once, and I was just like, oh man, I never even thought about that. Like, it never crossed my mind. I was like, oh yeah, I guess there's other road trips, two women on the road, on the land kind of thing,
yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. Are there any like like other like stretch goals that you've planned after you
Um,
reach 100%?
we haven't talked stretch goals yet, just because I don't like to assume that it's going to happen. I'd like to wait till it happens and then, okay, we can do some stretch goals. So right now, really the goal, I mean, we're 10% away. So we're really focused on the 100%. Then once that happens, I have some ideas, especially for, the first stretch. I know what that would be, but I kind of want to, wait on that until we get there. But there's definitely there
Nice.
will be some stretch goals down the road.
Yeah, cool. That's great. Let's get into the arc a little bit from
Okay.
issue one. Uh,
Sure.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so Home Free starts very small. It's really it's a very personal journey for the main character, Sarah. She has a history. She's in another graphic novel that Michelle and I had worked on together called The Black Wall. And we plan to release that. It's probably next year sometime, hopefully, when this series is done. It's, this series is sort of a loose sequel. It's basically Sarah's life 10 years later. Sarah's not the main
Mm.
character in the Black Wall, but she's a large part of it. And so we meet up with her 10 years later after the events of that to see where she's at in life. And she's basically hiding out, not really hiding out, she's just escaped to a small town of Tuesday, Oregon to just kind of live a life of just being left alone. It's a very, she just doesn't want to be involved with people really. But she's also just getting to a point where she just feels kind of lost. And she's at this bar one day and meets this other girl, Emmy, in there. And Emmy has a black eye. And so this kind of starts the conversation up because this is a familiar situation to Sarah, because she has had past abuses. And so they get to know each other. She finds out that Emmy is a prostitute. And then he basically gives her a choice. He's like, hey, I can help you escape, but we got to go now. So that kind of starts things off. And then basically escaping isn't so easy. They get into some trouble, end up stealing a car, and then that brings us to issue number two. Because basically, in issue two, this we find them on the road.
Mm.
So now they're on the road together. The trouble they ran into in issue one catches up with them. This is now they're out of Tuesday. They're in the mountains of Oregon, just going over the passes out there, and somebody recognizes the car that they're in, and this
Yeah.
leads to some real good old grindhouse action. And you know, things escalate from there, and then this story kind of brings us to the next episode, um, where this one they're all a little different. Like the first one's kind of like really kind of more of a dramatic noir story. This one gets
Mm.
into like almost like a '70s car chase kind of a deal.
Yeah.
It's more of a grindhouse kind of deal with it. Then the third issue kind of I jumps into like a more solitary Western noir deal. There's very few characters in it. It's in
Yeah.
the desert of Nevada. Um, so yeah, basically after the second issue, Sarah's now alone again. I'm gonna kind of leave that a mystery as to why she's alone and not with Emmy anymore.
Yeah.
And she's basically, she's decided along this path that she's not only trying to get Emmy home, but
Mm,
she also like wants to escape.
mm,
She wants to really escape, not just Cruise Bay, but she really wants to just disappear because there's things that are boiling up in America that are connected to her past.
mm,
And she's just kind of like America is getting to this point where there's these two, not even just two opposing sides, but there's just like different factions in America that are just opposing each other. There's giant protests happening all over the place. The government,
mm,
is what it is. It's not really active with the people.
mm,
There's like a mass movement against surveillance that's going on, but there's all sorts of
mm,
little factions in America kind of vying
mm.
for power. And it's just getting to this place where it's just not a safe place to live, and she's just sick of it. And it's connected to her past, so she's sort of running away from the action that's happening, but also running away from herself. So her plan is
Yeah,
to just
yeah.
get to Mexico and just leave it all behind for good. So we find her in issue 3 going to basically dig up some money that's been buried in the desert for quite some
Mm,
time that she put there years ago. Because we'll find out in the story, she feels it's dirty money and didn't want it until she was desperate. Now she's
yeah,
desperate enough to go get that money so she can
yeah.
help herself kind of live for a bit before she needs to start, finding out the means of making money. Um,
Wow.
yeah. So with Desert Green, that's the third issue. That brings us to the fourth issue where she's making headway. She's on her way down to San Diego, or in the fourth issue, she's in San Diego, which is very close to Mexico. She's heading to the border,
Mm,
um, and then but everything that's been going on is basically leading up to this basically mass protest on Labor Day because that's when this event happened in her past that she's connected to, where this
mm.
basically something called they call the Labor Day massacre happened. There's just mass bombings across the country, um, and basically this protest is leading up to that day. But
Mm-mm.
uh, basically the people, everything's just erupted before she can get out of the country. And so now
Wow.
she's in San Diego, and there's just stuff happening all around her, and she's got to fight her way to the border, basically.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, so it goes from this very quiet kind of story, very
Yeah,
personal, and yeah, it's just kind of growing and growing until this explosion in issue
yeah.
4. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really, really cool. So it just keeps escalating over the issues, and
Right.
also kind of like goes from one genre to another, right? Like even if it's you put it under a big umbrella of say crime and grindhouse
Mhm.
genres, but it still has navigates through a lot of subgenres, right? Like there's a bit of dystopian future kind of things happening, and with some political undertones, and um,
Right.
yeah, also action and things like that. So that's amazing.
Yeah, the genres kind of pop up out of the situations that she's in. That's why, like, I think the first one is like more of a dramatic noir. Then you get into like the crime is always there. But then, like yeah, it's just the depending on the actions and the environment that are going on, it just kind of they all have their own feel to it, but they flow together pretty nicely.
Yeah, yeah. Fantastic, fantastic. Anything you want to talk about issue 5? I know you gave a sneak peek of issue 4 when we talked about getting back to normal. So, any plans do you have where issue 5 would go already without spoilers, of
Um,
course?
So issue 4 and 5 are basically almost like a two-parter. So issue 5 is going to really wrap up the story, I think, in a very satisfactory way. I think people that have been reading from the beginning or just picking up new and go through the series. I think that it's all going to feel really good once it all ends and everything. So it's a two-parter basically. It's still in San Diego.
Mm,
So we don't really move from there, but it's like it really moves the story.
yeah.
So yeah. So like the fourth one sort of ends on a cliffhanger. It just ends in a place where you're just like very uncertain.
Mm,
So once you get to the end of that, you're really going to be like, oh my God, what happens here? It's like, hopefully I leave people just kind of like wondering, just not
yeah,
really knowing
yeah,
what's going on or what's to come. So,
yeah.
but I think, yeah, AC5, I think is very much going to be, yeah, it's like, I think it's going to be satisfying.
Nice,
I hope.
nice.
That's my hope.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't know if this was the case in olden days, but a lot of Bollywood movies still do this. That they have intervals,
Hmm.
so they have this. Whenever somebody talks to me about two-parters, I keep I think about this because in every like say Bollywood movie or maybe even like in the olden days when they had intervals in the movies, they used to have six acts instead of three because every like both halves need to have a similar progression. So like in the first half a character would end up in a in an escalation where like where the second part would pick up from. It could be in a place which is where probably like so, say villains are winning or that kind of thing, right?
Hmm.
Like in like say Empire Strikes Back, if you think about like a three-part movie, that's where like the second part, like say first half of the second part ends, and then the second half picks up from there, and then the hero's journey starts again and ends in a win, at the end of that. So it's kind of like building six acts instead of instead of three
Right,
in a
right.
movie. And every two-parter kind of feels like that to me, like where you're watching a big movie or reading a big thing where you have an interval and then you're picking up from there. It does, like you expect, as if you expect the second part to lose a little bit of steam and then pick up, uh, instead of like just picking up right after where you left off. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I think, I don't know. I think it's more interesting when you try to write with more than just the three acts. I think a lot of things kind of stick to that structure, but I feel like if you have many peaks and valleys throughout your story, it just makes it like way more interesting, and you're just gonna pay attention more, and it's gonna keep you tuned in,
yeah, yeah,
rather than just kind of going, and then that's
yeah,
it. It's
yeah,
like I
yeah,
don't know, like why not a little more of this to kind of keep people really into the story. I feel like like I feel like this could, if you really think about this, with the five issues, it's kind of a five-act story, the way it
yeah,
works.
yeah.
So yeah.
Very true. Yeah. The thing that I was trying to make point of was like in a lot of Bollywood movies, I was reading a book by some director from like ages ago, and he basically wrote that his device was when they started doing the second half of the movie, instead of uh, getting picking up exactly from the same place that we left in the first half, they would actually try to introduce a new character, or
Okay.
maybe uh, bring back a character that we kind of left off in the second act of the first half.
Hmm.
And then so that you don't you actually like you keep wondering what happened to that character for a while before you actually get there again.
Oh,
So
okay.
it just adds a bit of like both levity to the proceedings, as well as distracts the users, the minds of the viewers a little bit, so that when you get the original characters back, it hits you even harder. So
Hmm.
you don't expect it when that comes back. So yeah,
Okay, cool. Yeah, I really, that's like, I'm a big film nerd, and I've never dove into like Bollywood. I really, I've got to eventually. I've just got to do it and just like check some stuff out. Like I keep on
yeah.
hearing about this movie Roar that's supposed to be really good. Have you heard of
Oh,
that
yeah,
one?
the movie called RRR.
Oh, yeah, it's just RRR. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
maybe it's not
yeah.
Roar.
Yeah. But technically, it's not Bollywood; it's regional cinema.
Oh,
So,
okay.
in India, there's so many different. There are actually many different working industries,
Mhm.
and based on different regions and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
um, this is obviously, and they're also like based on language groups. So this is
Oh, okay.
from one particular language, but it's been a worldwide phenomenon. They went to like the Oscars, and they won the best music for one of the songs as well there this year.
Nice.
So yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
definitely. I think even mainstream Bollywood suffers the same problems as mainstream Hollywood, I guess. Like they
Hmm.
follow the money trail, so
Right, right.
they do whatever sells. But I think there's plenty of indie movie houses, even in India. I think they produce pretty good movies. Similar to like A24, right? Like A24
Right.
produces like high quality movies in
Yeah.
several genres. So yeah,
Right, right. Yeah. That's cool. Cool. And that's something I'll dive into one of these days, you know?
yeah. Absolutely. So what other stories have you planned? And one thing I need the readers to actually note is I think what I love about your work, John, is your focus on characters is so good that you're actually able to create new story arcs right out of those small characters that you introduce
Hmm.
in your books, right? For example, your previous work, Getting Back to Normal, was also expansion of a character from a previous work, right?
Right,
Um,
right. I don't know why I
uh,
do this. It just happens. I don't, yeah, it's weird. Yeah, like the Black Wall has spawned off like basically its own universe of. I did not do this on purpose. This was not planned. I just keep on doing it. I can't stop. I don't know. So the Black Wall spawned Home Free and Getting Back to Normal. And then Home Free has spawned three novellas now. Like I'm working on the third one, 4 Days with May, Inheritor of the Dead. And these novellas, those two are just like completely unconnected to the story of Home Free.
yeah.
The first one, 4 Days of May, has a character from Home Free issue 1. Inheritor of the Dead takes place after an event in issue 2, and the one I'm writing right now is called Stop Through. This one's actually the most connected because this is actually I'm jumping into. So basically, right now, Sarah's traveling south. I'm jumping into a point in her past where she was actually traveling north back to Reno, because that's where she's originally from. After leaving Los Angeles, like she's got a pretty like very developed history, and this is a real deep dive into Sarah. Basically, it's time she was running from Los Angeles back up to Reno, and it's kind of bridging the gap between the Black Wall and Home Free, where we find out why she goes to not necessarily why she goes exactly to Tuesday, or but the point where she just decides that hey, it's time for me to just get away from people and get away from my
Mm,
old life and stay away.
mm,
So that's what this story Stop Through is about. I'm having a really good time writing it. I love writing Sarah, I guess. I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
So this is probably going to be the biggest of the three novellas so far. Like I'm trying to keep them short, but this story keeps on like expanding a little bit, so we'll see. We'll see how far I go with it.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
You want more? I think uh, what I really like about your writing is it feels from whatever I've read I read uh Getting Back to normal cover to cover in like 45 minutes, and the story floats so beautifully.
Cool.
um it was so well done. Like I just loved I just going from one panel to another, just yeah, it was very engrossing. It was like, the writing flows really well. It almost feels like you get in that zone and then just write uh the whole thing through and through, and it shows. So yeah, well done on that. Like I
Thanks,
really
man.
love
I
your writing.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I need to hear that stuff sometimes, but I
No,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Also, I feel I don't know if you are or not, but there's a lot of like Elmer Leonard kind of writing in there, like really sharp dialogue, and like really. Uh, are you a fan, or have you read a lot of Elmer Leonard's work?
I'm not gonna lie, I own a couple Elmore Leonard books, but I've never read him yet. I've read a lot of like I'm a huge film noir fan. I've just started diving into within the last 2 years into like crime novels that a lot of film noirs I liked are based on, just to kind of get
Yeah,
into that world a little bit. So I'm discovering all those great crime writers from like the 30s, 40s, 50s, and then getting into that. But Elmore Leonard, I've got like 2 or 3 books on my shelf behind me of his, and I've got to just crack one open and start reading it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I haven't yet, but I will. I will. He's another
Yeah.
guy I just have to get to. I'm like one of those people who buys books. Like I'll find like a good deal. I'll be out, oh, $2, $3. I'll just buy them, and then they go on the shelf, and eventually I get to them. But
Yeah.
I just, yeah. So eventually I will.
Yeah, same for me actually. I just buy book. I call books my retirement plan. So when I just retire, I'll just have like hundreds of books that I just want to sit and read and do nothing else.
Oh man, I look forward to that day because, like, working full time and doing this comic stuff, it's just like that's. But then, like, reserving time for your family or just like other things, just to like,
Yeah,
do watch a movie or something. Like, yeah, I look forward to the day where I can just wake up and just crack a book open.
exactly,
It'd be
exactly.
great.
Yeah, yeah. I think the you will find a lot of parallels with Elmer Leonard because his characters are very street smart. All of his characters are very street smart. They all have some sort of backstory, and like the way he does exposition is super smart. Like he doesn't like write really long pages of exposition. He just writes tidbits of backstories here and there, and
Mhm.
just you learn about the characters as you go. um and the dialogue is so like it's just so sharp, uh yeah, it's really like, and also like the full of profanities as well. but it's really really fun to read,
Right.
especially like Get Shorty is so good. Like I just absolutely love like even the movie adaptation is good, like don't get me wrong, but the
Right.
book is just so incredible. It's just funny, and it's yeah, it's so well done.
Yeah, I'll hit some of that up eventually. I know I've seen quite a few movies like, Jackie Brown, and I've seen Get Shorty. I think there's some other ones I've seen that are based on his work. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed them all. So yeah. Yeah.
Are there any other crime writers that you have read in the past that you absolutely love?
There's one that I've been trying to like. I read one of his stories. His name is David Goodis. He's one of
Hmm.
those guys that in the 50s they did quite a few, at least like 2 or 3 movies based on his work. And I read this one called Down There, I think it's called, and man, it was so good.
Yeah.
He's a really um, it was just awesome to read.
Nice.
Yeah, like I said, I've got like I've read quite a few. There's another one called, I forget the author's name, but this one really I got into because it was really focused on the characters. It's called They Shoot Horses, Don't They? I'm pretty sure that's the name of it. And that one just like um so good. Such a good story.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes place in like maybe the 1930s or something. Like I think it's someplace, I forget what beach it is, but there's like a roller skating contest where, is it dancing or roller skating? I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
roller skating where they're supposed to skate around until like they can't skate
Yeah.
anymore, or they like until like the last people are left skating, and then they win a bunch of money. And it's just like the dynamics of the story and
Yeah.
like the way they present the characters. Oh man, that was a great story. I'm just forgetting the author's name. But
That's
yeah,
amazing.
like I said, I've been diving into some of that stuff lately, and I've been enjoying it.
Yeah. I think this was like back in the day. when I was in high school. I used to read John Grisham and those guys a lot, like David Baldassi,
Hmm.
John Grisham. They had like different perspectives. Even James Patterson, uh, B. Child, those people, right? Like they had a lot of like different perspectives to how they wanted to approach like the crime genre itself. Like
Hmm.
John Grisham's perspective is a lawyer's perspective. Like he,
Right.
he always he always writes from like a lawyer or somebody uh, who's on this side of the law, and they how they see crime. Whereas David Baldacci he's just gets into the mind of the, the criminal. So yeah, they all have really different kind of perspectives to how they write, right? Like so, yeah.
Right, right. Yeah. I've never read any of them, but I remember, yeah, back in the '90s, Grissom was everywhere. That was like his era, right? Like that was
Yeah,
he had all his big books. They made movies. He had like a new movie out like every year based on his stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. True, true, true. He did, I think, after he kind of semi-retired after a while. I think his last book was called The Innocent Man, and I think he did a documentary series on Netflix uh, regarding some of those cases, because I think I read one of his interviews where he said like he he really like the American justice system really broke him at some point, because he was feeling he just broke down from the fact that so many innocent people were being incarcerated for their crimes for like decades that end, like because the local police just watched the investigation, or like they just didn't care enough about both the crime and also the people who were at like the victims, and
Hmm.
um uh, and like they ended up in a place where like there were so many people who were just in jail, who were like innocent for like 20-25 years.
Uh-huh.
um yeah, he did this project called the Innocent Man Project,
Okay.
and they had a documentary series about some of the cases that like they tackled and got people free.
Yeah, I think there's a group around in America called the Innocence Project that does there's a bunch of similar ones. They try to they find cases where there's somebody that is wrongfully in jail for God knows how long, and they get
Yeah,
that they work to get that person out of jail and get them free. I know my wife pays attention. I think she might support them or something. Um, but I think she's heard them on a couple of podcasts and is really moved by a lot of the stories. That's sad. Imagine that,
it
like
is.
25 years of your life gone, locked in a cage, and you didn't do
Yeah,
anything. That's awful.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and obviously, like it's not something that's just limited to America, right? Like it happens around the
Hmm.
world, and um, yeah, it's just sad.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. But cool. You have how you have 12 days left on your campaign,
Yeah, yeah,
and
we're doing really well. 12 days ago. My goal, I'm trying to get up to 100 backers this time. That's like my second issue. Was like 82 or something. So that's like the high point. That's what I have to beat right now.
yeah,
Right now we're
yeah,
tied with our last campaign, 75 backers on issue 3. So we really want to get over 100 and just have something to really celebrate at the end of this. So I think we can do it. 12 days. We can pick up 25 people. I think.
yeah, yeah. Let's. What I can do is, I'm announcing it now. I'll maybe by end of today or by tomorrow, I'll generate like a code for uh, you'll get the money, but people can reissue one for free if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it up on my website for free,
Sure.
so people can just read and have a taste of what home free is about. And yeah, uh, back this issue 4. Let's get it there.
Right. Right. I agree. Let's do it.
Yeah. Um, So yeah, that's great. Great having you here every single time, man. I really appreciate you coming out and and talking about your work. It's always amazing having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Maybe next time we can get Michelle on too. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. I think for next time, I have an idea. Maybe we can get Michelle to do a live piece of art, and we can
Okay.
probably auction it. You know.
Yeah, right. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks again for coming in. And
Yeah.
if you want to take 2 minutes, take the stage and talk about Home Free campaign, and yeah, go for it. It's all yours.
Yeah. Yeah, so the issue 4 campaign is going strong right now. We have lots of great options for you. There's digital comics, there's bundles with all the prints, and there's uh, some books I've written that are within the world of the comics. So there's lots of options for you to just kind of jump in and just really take a deep dive into this world. So another thing that's not on here that I announced through one of my updates that digital backers are also going to get like some cool stuff. We're going to maybe make some mobile wallpapers, desktops. I'm going to give you an edited version of chapter 1 of the Black Wall. So just for getting to 75% funding, something to celebrate. Um, so if you dig basically crime comics, if you dig like action, especially in this issue, there's a little bit of action in every issue, but it's more like sporadic things that happen to kind of like uh, heighten the drama and everything. But this one is really Michelle is doing a beautiful job on all the pages. She's got her work cut out for her. I keep saying that. Like I felt bad writing this script because she's just got so much to draw. That it's like it's also expanded. Home free one through home free 1 to 3, 24 pages each. This issue's 32 pages. The last issue is also going to be a 32 pager, so it's kind of like a big 64-page ending to this series. Yeah. So do you think it sounds like your thing? You know, you like strong characters, strong but complicated. That's Sarah. Dig in. We look forward to seeing you.
Awesome. Thanks again for coming on the show. It was always a great time, John.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.